gonna skip over that part.
It's like we can sex foot everything. That should be the tagline of this episode: sex foot everything.
6 foot. It was 6 foot. Welcome to Recapping Romantasy, hot takes on hot literature. Who are we?
I'm Emma.
I am Tabitha.
And I am Maura. We are a trio of women who read too much and too much fantasy in particular. How did we discover this? Accidentally. Probably because we're in each other's faces all the damn time talking about books. And what are we into? Romantasy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, romantasy is a portmanteau of romance and fantasy. And you probably know this term because it's a new category, a new genre on Book Talk and also Goodreads. And when I personally think of romantasy, I think of a romance story with any sort of like fantasy or magical element to it. Do you agree?
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like other people, or at least like I did a little teeny tiny research trying to be, professional. I think most people think of it as like a fantasy book with romance in it, so they wouldn't consider Outlander or anything to be romantasy.
Well, I think that's saying something, as I asked several people if they would consider Outlander to be romantasy because there are fantastical elements in it. There's time traveling, and then she manages to cure his PTSD with pussy magic in the first book. But a lot of people who like it tell me no, it's not romantasy, which I think says something about how people regard this genre.
Yeah, when I was reading, I actually read this article from the person who I saw mention it first, which is, I'm going to say this person's name wrong, Claire Sager, or I don't know, from Indie Author Magazine, and she was talking about it and talking about the tropes, and she basically read it as, because all of us grew up with, fantasy like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, those sorts of things, they were saying that has kind of lend itself into what we read in adulthood, and then the romance element on top of it. So it's interesting to see people's different takes. But most popular romantasy books are Fourth Wing and
ACOTAR.
Yeah, ACOTAR.
So for this first episode, we are going to discuss Fourth Wing. It is the first book in the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, and it came out in May of 2023, taking the world by storm, mostly because it was very heavily marketed.
Yes. So most recently, Fourth Wing soared to the top of the Goodreads Best Books of 2023 with nearly 400,000 votes. That's 400,000 votes. The second place finisher was well behind in popularity by half, which goes to show how big romantasy is at the moment. Fourth Wing itself burst onto TikTok in this famous deluge of attention, complete with rapturous 5-star reviews. And currently it sits at about 4.63 stars out of 868,000 ratings, which I can show you how many of those are 5 stars. There is rumor that this is not as organic as the people behind Fourth Wing would like to have its readers believe. In fact, it's common knowledge in the book world that Fourth Wing is IP, which is short for intellectual property, and developed by the Red Tower imprint of Entangled Publishers. Red Tower in itself, for all intents and purposes, is a book packager, which is a whole other conversation we can have at another date. But a secondary rumor in the book world is Amazon had a hand in Fourth Wing's creation, which makes sense given it was optioned, the series for television and Prime. This is not information that's going to sway readers one way or the other on this book, but for me, it's an interesting window into how these books attain big status, which is to say they had big dollars going into making them big. I don't think anything is really organic anymore in the book world.
No.
To make something large like this, something had to be behind it, giving it money.
Wait, has it been purchased for TV already?
Oh yeah, Amazon bought it.
What?
Yes. We are looking at a TV show coming up.
Oh my god.
Yes, this might be something that we discuss more later on, but we have discussed how this book might be sort of the, what's the word I want, dying gasp of romantasy, because it reminded us of, what was that really bad series, Divergent, as being sort of the last gasp of teen dystopian books. Like it managed to include like every single trope of the genre, but was otherwise very poorly written. And this feels like something that a lot of corporate kind of interest went into it, using all of the tropes of romantasy, allegedly.
Did you see that rumor that it's written by AI?
I did not see that rumor.
I did. AI.
I saw something about how Iron Flame might have been helped by AI.
Yeah, that's the one that I saw.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, because it was turned around so quickly, and the writing was maybe a little less what people expected. But
I mean, I think it's not great writing, but
it's certainly accessible writing, which I think is one of the reasons why people are really drawn to it.
I am going to be taking the lead in recapping Fourth Wing. We start out with a map of Basgiath War College. Now,
sorry. Is that how it's pronounced in the audiobook?
It is. It's pronounced Basgiath.
Oh,
Basgiath.
I did not do the audiobook. I just read it on my Kindle, so I don't know how anything is pronounced.
Well, that's because you keep calling it Basgiath.
Yeah.
It's just more fun.
I read the audiobook at first, and I have to admit I was very confused when I looked at this map finally.
Yeah.
I guess I imagined the whole college set into the side of a hill. I don't know why it's like rocky and there's dragons and stuff. I'm also confused that the infantry is like attached to the building, because you don't even really hear about the infantry until the second book.
I think they mentioned it like maybe once.
I think they mentioned it exists, but I didn't realize that they were like...
No, I just ignored them.
For some reason, I thought that her mother's office was completely farther afield than the actual college itself. I thought like she was in some sort of like headquarters office in town. Yeah. I don't know why, because I'm pretty sure like, she's literally there getting a backpack ready. And she's like, do I really have to go, Mom? She's like, yeah, actually, you really do. And then she just walks outside and goes. And for some reason in the audiobook, I kept thinking, well, and then clearly she got in a car and she drove to this cliff and just walked across this parapet / bridge. And I was like, this makes sense to me, but obviously I was not listening.
All right, so the book starts with a note that the following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into the modern language. Names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't read any into this at all, but then TikTok is my news every day. I saw this TikTok that said, it was a fan theory, lots of people were thinking this too, that note was in there because everyone is eventually dead. And this girl...
Well, I mean, we are.
Well,
all of us in the end.
I know, but at the end of the book series, everyone who's been talked about is going to be dead except for the... Janice, what's her name?
Something like that.
Yeah. That girl is the only one who's alive.
Janicia?
Something like that.
Yeah. We will get there in that book.
I was a little confused by this because I don't... Okay, so it was like her friend that translate these events in this document, but it says it's translated to the modern language. How long ago was this? Why aren't they using that language anymore? Is her friend immortal?
I don't... that's a great point. And then also, they don't ever mention that anyone in the current world that we're reading speaks a different language. So it's not like in Star Wars where everyone has a translator and they're in the modern tongue or whatever they call it.
Also, it's what it's doing is it's setting up that this was a pivotal point in this world's history. This history has to be recorded. Everything going forward in the book has to be recorded because these are very important players. And all I could think was even the sex scenes, did somebody go to the effort to describe those?
No, and I'm like, yes.
Well, and then it's all written from Violet's point of view. So is she just
it's first person point of view.
Is her friend just ghostwriting this memoir for her?
Yeah, and is she no, you have to include his body, his whole naked body multiple times.
Yeah.
All right, so chapter 1. We are told it is conscription day. Our main character, Violet Sortingale, is preparing to do some sort of feat of strength to enter the Riders Quadrant. She walks into an argument between her sister, Mari?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mari.
Mari. And her mother being a top general in this military. It is revealed that Violet has trained for several years to be a scribe and is implied to be quite good at it.
So when they talked about how she was a scribe, I feel like she says that she did it because she's not very strong. She talks a lot about how she's this weak, frail body with maybe a chronic disease in there. But she is a scribe because her dad's a scribe. And she talks about how her dad was such a good scribe. And this is how she's connected to him But I feel like that's the only information that I know about him. And then later on, whenever we talk about her dad, I feel like I'm supposed to feel like connected to him and this wonderful relationship they had. But I'm like, where was it?
Yeah, we don't know. It was somewhere.
I think it's
in the scribe quadrant.
Yeah,
underground.
We just don't care about them, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just not good writing. I think
Just
they're
cut in
telling
there,
us.
Tabitha.
I think they're just telling us like you're supposed to feel sad about this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay. So in this military, as best as I can figure out, there are 4 positions that you can have: healer, scribe, infantry, and riders. There's a theory in history that like not everybody can be a knight, not everybody can be a Viking, because like one knight requires like 500 people to support them. You know, people have to make clothing, they have to make armor, they have to make leather, they have to make weapons, they have to take care of the horses, they have to grow the food. So all I can think about the entire time we're reading about this military is who makes all this and why don't they exist here?
It's magic. Everything's 3D
everything is
printed.
magic through the small magic, as we discuss later.
Like the pens.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
So
Talk about the
But
pens.
wait, you only get the small magic if you're a dragon rider. So does that mean that like
This is why we need so many dragon riders.
Yeah,
and why
so
they're
that
so
they
important.
can
Everybody wants to
small
be one,
magic
so
the
that they can use the
clothes?
pens.
Yeah, to be able to use pens and like do their laundry and shit like that. So during the fight, it is revealed that our main character Violet is tiny. She's so tiny. She's so frail. She's a little porcelain doll, the poor thing. A quote from that chapter is, this is her mom, picks up the end of my long braid, scoffs at the section just above my shoulders where the brown strands start to lose their warmth of color and slowly fade into a steely metallic silver by the end, and drops it. Pale skin, pale eyes, pale hair, her mother says. That's not how hair goes gray, but we can just move past that, I guess, because it looks cooler.
It
Well, she
does.
said
It looks so cool.
she had like the flu or something when she was young?
Yeah, and apparently it caused her
And
to stop
that's-
producing, what is it that colors your hair? Melanin, keratin, something? I don't know.
No, not care. I think melanin. I don't actually know.
Yeah,
I feel-
I don't think it's really a scientific thing that's happening here. It's
No.
more like this looks cool, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would agree that it does look cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
like
it
she
in
got a
fan art.
natural balayage.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the implication throughout this book, and I think the others would agree with me, is that she has a chronic issue that is probably something like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Her joints are just going to be popping in and out constantly throughout this book.
Yeah, she like pops her shoulder back in like during one of the fights with one of the quote unquote mean girls, and she does it like so easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had a dislocated shoulder, but it seems like
I have had a dislocated knee, and it is not a fun time.
yeah, I was gonna say popping it back in is supposed to be super painful, right? I mean, I feel like she just does it.
Well, from what everybody says,
Flawlessly.
it feels better in that moment, but then like the muscles are all strained and stuff around it, so it starts to hurt afterwards.
Yeah.
What we find out in this fight is that for some reason she is being made to become a dragon rider, or at least try to become a dragon rider. It's also revealed that in the past several years, both her brother and her father, a scribe, died. It's basically setting up the family dynamic here. Dead brother, dead dad, protective sister, cold mom. So once they're out of the office, the sister gives her some supplies and some advice. As she moves towards the line to cross the parapet, we are introduced to the concept of separatists or rebels. So, this is how I understood this. Apparently, this is an empire that absorbs territories. For our story, Tyrrendor is the most important because as punishment for the rebellion, the leaders were executed and their kids were drafted into Navarre's military. Would you say that's correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Did
Okay.
they ever say why they rebelled?
Forever after it will be
Like I
rebelled.
said, I just assume it's because they're like an empire who's like eating all these
They're eating up
territories.
land. Yeah, I think they just
I
didn't
think
want
they
to
just
eaten.
wanted their independence.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it is told to us right away that all of the rebel kids have cool marks on their skin that make them stand out.
Okay, maybe it's just because I like watched the Divergent movies recently or something. But every time I read about the tattoos in these books, all I could picture was those like weird tattoos from the Divergent movies. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like those tribal type.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they're not
Every-
even like they don't even look like tribal type. They look
See,
like
I feel like every piece of fan art I saw of this showed them with like 90s tribal tattoos.
that
Yes.
is true. I did see a lot of fan
Yes,
art like
a lot of
too.
that. And then like the dragon tattoo on the back. That's very popular.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I think, again in the Divergent series, that girl, she has like birds or something, doves flying away, and they're
Yeah.
just. I mean, I have a bad tattoo, so it happens to us all. But like, You think magic would give you a good tattoo?
Well,
you know?
it's gotten to the point with like the fandom that I can't separate the back tattoo from like actual story.
She asked me the other day. She was like, "Do they actually get dragon tattoos on their back?"
I think they do.
Do they?
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
I mean, I'm gonna Google it.
Important people that we meet in this chapter are Rhiannon. She becomes Violet's best friend because she notices that Rhiannon's wearing absolute shit boots to cross the parapet and gives her one. We also meet Jack, who is just a crazy person.
Like psycho.
Yeah, as they're walking to the parapet, he overhears her talking about her like bones popping in and out, and he's like, "Well, I need to kill you for sure."
Yeah, just out of nowhere. I love that part.
Yeah, he just like smelt it on her. He was just like behind her in line, or like where there was that random dude who was in the middle of them, right? And he just like popped in, was like, "You smell weak." And then
he has a thing throughout the whole book of like culling weakness.
It's really weird.
So then, obviously, the most important person we meet in this is Xaden Ryerson. Now, if you're curious how that's spelled, it's Xaden.
In the most millennial term that you could possibly have.
He is the most well-known of the rebellion kids. It's thought that he wants to kill Violet because she's the general's daughter, and the general had killed his dad, who was a important person.
Isn't his dad like the lead rebel?
Yeah, he led the whole thing.
I was going to say, look, we don't know he's the king yet, but we find out.
We find out later. Yes, but like this is this right here though,
the one you haven't read yet.
Well, then stop talking about it.
It's like spoiler alert.
But more important than anything else, Xaden is very large.
He's so large. He's like 6'4", and she's like what 5'0".
Yeah,
which is the best part. But also, I have to like.
Do they say their heights in the book?
I don't think they say that. That's just automatically assumed by, again, all the fan art that I have consumed over the past 6 months. That she is like this teeny tiny like baby, and he is this ginormous giant of a man.
Yeah.
And also, I would argue that bullet point right there is the sole reason why this book has skyrocketed into the stratosphere.
Yeah,
every
that
book is
Xaden
like that.
part about like how he's like, I want to kill you, and then he's like, never mind.
Yeah. Well, everyone loves a good enemies to lovers.
Oh my god, don't we all?
It's like my favorite.
So would somebody like to describe what the hell the parapet is?
Oh my god,
I would love to describe the parapet because I can't handle the parapet. The second I heard the parapet, and I was like, what is happening here?
I just remember like the first thing we talked about was literally this.
Yes.
After I started reading it, I remember
it's like, is this a bridge or a parapet?
What does it look like? I kept Googling it because I didn't even.
Because it was just, you know what parapets are, you know? It's a wall.
Like, yes.
It's literally a wall. That's what we call it. And I'm like, is this a wall? Is it? And then we look down and I'm like, well, it like is descending into nothingness. Like, you know, it just goes down, down, down. And I guess there's a river at the bottom. But like, then they're like, it's a bridge, really. I'm like, but that's not a parapet.
No.
Yeah, basically it is a very, very thin, very high wall that they need to cross. It's something about balance that they're going to need for riding a dragon. You have to make it across this. Yes. And if you die, you die. Violet starts across, and to keep herself calm through it, she is reciting history and geography facts.
Which I stand by. I feel like that would have been the coolest way to add in, like, boring world building.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so nervous, but here's like this backstory of why these two places are fighting.
Yeah, instead we get facts like timber is the export of this province.
Yeah, which I'm sure is important, but it didn't feel important when I was reading it.
It would have been important because we find out in the second book that they are constantly drinking lemonade. And yeah, and I need more information on where these lemons are coming from.
Who grows the lemons?
Also important to her crossing the parapet is that it is storming. And one of the things I have seen the fandom say is that her mom, her like magic power, which we'll get into that later, her mom's magic power is to control storms. So is her mom trying to kill her?
I know, I love that theory. It's my
favorite.
I do
like that one too.
Theory,
I wish it was. I mean, I don't know for sure if it's true, but
Violet's making her way across, like slow and steady. But then she sees Jack, the psychopath, just randomly throw a kid off the wall of the parapet.
It's like it's to get to her, right?
Yeah. Well, he wants to get. I think his strategy was to run. Like he was going to run
throw
across,
people out of his way,
and just get rid of people who are going slow.
He comes after Violet, and she manages to make it across. And after she makes it across, she pulls out one of her daggers and threatens to stab him. I forgot until my reread, in the balls specifically. Like, it is very specifically said she's going to stab him in the
love
balls.
her personality. I love the fact that she didn't walk into it this little, like, frail thing. Well, she was frail. Physically she was frail. But mentally, she was like, I will stab you in the balls. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, at every turn when people are like, this isn't for you, she's like, the fuck it is.
she makes it across the parapet. Everybody's happy. And then we meet Dane Atos, current second year, childhood friend, and clearly in love with Violet. If you're curious how Dane is spelled, it is Dain. He is the leader of 2nd Squad, Flame Section, 2nd Wing. I saw a diagram of how this military works, and I've completely forgotten all about it.
It's, first off, the diagram that we saw was crazy because it's set up crazy. I mean, I've never been in the military before, but oh my God, I reread the line where they talk about how the military is set up like 12 times because I couldn't understand. And I'm just small frown-minded, but like it didn't make any sense. And the picture did not help either.
So, like I said, he likes Violet, but Violet kind of does like him too. So he is very upset that she's here. He's very worried about her because he knows that she's frail. And then she acts like he's the one being unreasonable and that she isn't a fragile little bird with hollow bones.
Also, he like criticizes her boots. And I'm like, dude, like, she was just given new boots. How dare you?
Wait, does he criticize the good boots or the fact that
he criticizes the new boots? And I honestly thought was probably like an error, but yeah, like they go into this big deal about how like, oh, the boots, you need new boots. These boots are so terrible, and also you can't bring literally everything with you across the parapet because you will definitely die. But then she gets there on the other side, and Dane's like, these boots? You came over here with these boots, and I was like,
didn't her sister give her the boots?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it was probably an error that they didn't catch. But
I just
also maybe he's just really has high standards for boots. I don't know.
He's a fashion queen.
Dane's dad is also higher up in the military, which is important to note moving forward.
I'm still looking up this back tattoo thing. I just
keep working on that.
I'm scrolling through my Kindle right now.
The cadets get sorted. Violet and Rhiannon are put into Dane's section. And then that whole section is switched to Xaden's section, which is Fourth Wing, the name of the book. Yay! This is also the first time that Violet calls Xaden handsome. What she says specifically is Xaden's arrogant, handsome face.
Love an arrogant, handsome face.
Yeah, that's not the way I talk about people I hate. So then some dragons come by basically to show off that like there are dragons, as though we didn't already know this. But they also just like kill some folk for being scared. So some of these kids that made it across the parapet and are there, the dragons show up, they get freaked out, they start to run away, and the dragons incinerate them. Then we get into it a little bit, but it's also kind of assumed that we just understand the whole reason for this dragon rider thing, the whole point of bonding to a dragon and getting a signet power. Does anybody else want to explain that?
It's like when they bond, the dragon is the conduit of magic that humans cannot otherwise access. So once you've bonded with this dragon, the dragon's like, you're my person. I love you. I will do anything for you. The person who rides that dragon not only gets to hear their thoughts on everything, they also eventually will manifest some power that is kind of like a circuit through the dragon. So like you've got these like this ability, there's magic out there in the universe, and the only way you can really access it is through these magical dragons.
Yeah, you can also do what they call like lesser magic, which is apparently putting ink in pens and like opening doors and stuff.
And I think also the lights, like literally all the lights are magic.
Oh, are they?
I think so.
Do they also get stronger, or am I just making that up?
The lights?
No.
I think you're making that up.
Okay. No, I meant like the people. But okay, I'm making it up. Don't listen to me.
All right. So then we start in on just like school stuff. Like they have to, live in dorms, go to dining hall, and then have classes. And the classes seem to be stuff like chemistry and punching.
Don't they also have physics?
I think so.
I think eventually, yeah.
Okay.
But it's just like normal classes that like a high schooler would go to, and then also how to punch people.
Because remember, down deep, this is a boarding school romance. Yeah.
The other thing we learn in this chapter is that Dane's signet power is that he can read memories through touch. Just through touch, though, because we'll see later that there's another way to read memories that they have some kind of cultural taboo on.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Love that part.
But one of the classes that they have to attend is Battle Brief, which is like the most up-to-date military briefing information that they're willing to tell the Dragon Riders, I guess.
I always thought about Battlestar Galactica and this this part where everybody comes to like the briefing room and they're like, yeah, the aliens or whatever. And let's talk about how we're going to destroy the aliens.
I thought of like an intense game of like Risk is what they were doing,
So in this battle brief, they tell them that the enemies are on the border riding griffins.
Sorry. I just like, I remember reading this and I just was like, griffins are what the dragons are against. Like that's the enemy. Like griffins are like, they seem so small compared to these dragons. Like, how are they actually?
I always imagine
they're
the
like
dragons
magic conduits too.
Yeah, but
they are, but they're small. They're lion size, whereas a dragon, they keep saying, is like at least the size of a small house.
Yeah. So like maybe they're swift, you know.
But then okay, well, we're not going to get into that in the next book. But like, so I do want to like someone to explain to me who the enemies are at this stage. I was always a little bit like, who were we fighting? The Griffin Riders? The Griffin Riders of what? Like, who are these? Like the territories outside of Navarre that don't want to be colonized? Like, is this like and I understand this is like an anti-colonialist like theme, but it doesn't actually ever really get into that. It's just more like, well, you know, they just have to respect our trade agreements, and then maybe we'll stop attacking them with our dragons. But then I'm like, but why are the dragons signing on to this? And then we get into like a whole other situation. So
I agree. Yeah. Like again, she has so much like nervous talking where she's going through history. She could have explained all of these things then, but no.
Because Violet is like good at answering the questions in Battle Brief because she knows a lot about history, she offers to tutor Rhiannon in history, and Rhiannon offers to tutor Violet in punching. So they watch Jack accidentally kill a guy on the mat in fight class with 0 consequences.
Which is like, I need to get into like the random rules of the killing, because this is like a fight or die tagline here, and it's just like, so most of these people are going to die, right? That's just understood going into the military. Right. That is their weird hardcore acceptance. But then they're like, also, you might just accidentally or intentionally be killed by one of your own. And it's like, don't care. But no one cares about this.
I did pick up on my reread that there is a rule that says, like, you can't kill another cadet. But, like, they do.
Yeah, but they do all the time.
I think the way he gets away with it here is that it was supposed to be, like, an accident. Because, like, the teacher yells at him, and he was like, I didn't know his neck would snap so easily, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
In fight class, after this, they watch a kid get just fucking snapped in half. A rebellion kid named Imogene kicks Violet's ass and breaks her arm. Or maybe just pops out her shoulder. Like, I reread it a couple times and I couldn't quite figure out what went wrong. But something's up with her bones. So she has to go to the healer. And when she comes back to her room, she finds her brother's journal, her dead brother's journal of advice her sister snuck to her.
And that's the end of chapter 6. Y'all.
Yeah, that's literally the entire chapter. She goes to the healer, finds the journal.
Chapter 6. Okay. Yeah. Moving on.
At this point, Violet decides she's going to start poisoning opponents in fight class, because why the hell not?
It's a perfect.
And I have in my notes to discuss the ethics of this. How do we feel about this? I say good for her.
No, I say definitely poison.
I say good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. You poison them.
This military has already been revealed to be absolute bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, they don't care if anyone dies. So, like, why would they care?
I'm like, you are in this for yourself. You're in here to survive, right? Yeah, so I'm like, absolutely, also, you poison people.
Yeah, isn't that being, like, cunning?
Yeah,
like knowing what to give to people, how much.
And I think that's why, like, I think people are kind of like, they understand that she's doing this, right? They have to understand to some extent that she's poisoning people, because like, how many people can just like not show up to the mat that day?
Yeah,
they're like, and she's clearly poisoning them. And if they can't figure out that they're being poisoned, oh well.
Yeah. I mean, I know Xaden definitely figures it out, but that's because he's perfect.
Yes.
One night, she is collecting poison supplies up a tree and observes a group of rebellion kids gathering. This is a big no-no because they're not supposed to be more than like 3 in a group as part of their punishment.
And like the head general or whatever, he can like tell somehow because of his signet, right?
Something about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's like weird.
He can see. He has foresight. Yeah. He can see everything in advance.
Oh, right. So then he somehow sees that they're all together?
It should completely negate literally everything. Like, if you have someone in power that can foresee the future, then like...
Specifically, when they talk about his power, they say he can foresee the outcome of battles.
Oh. Okay, maybe
I don't know how that works, but...
Yeah, like just battles? So you can...
just battles. I don't know how big a fight has to get before it's considered a battle.
Right?
Very limited.
Very
She considers reporting them for gathering in such a large group, but she sees that it's basically just Xaden giving advice to first years. After everybody else leaves, he sees Violet, and they agree that she won't say anything. By the way, Rhiannon is either bisexual or pansexual. We just know that some of the people she's sleeping with at this school are chicks. And I said that this is so we know that she is in competition for the boys.
Yeah, you need to have... a strict delineation about who is a love interest and who is not.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other girls in these books that like are kind of put forth to be love interests at one point for the male characters, and they're absolute assholes.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
are not supposed to like them.
I feel like everyone except for Rhiannon is like a dick.
Yeah, yes, intentionally.
Yeah.
So we learned some more about dragons. We learned that Xaden's dragon is named Segale. I'm not even going to bother to try to spell that.
It is not what you think it is.
Yeah. And she is the most powerful of her kind of dragon. She then poisons Jack in Wynn's Fight Club, and then just poisons a bunch of other people in Fight Club, too.
As well she should.
Oh, wait, so this is when he does it.
This isn't the orange thing. That's later.
Because I had that noted, and then I moved it to later.
Yeah, this is just like the first time she poisons him. I think this is when she makes him throw up.
Oh, okay.
Then she has to fight Xaden in fight class. But don't worry, because she wrapped her joints. Like, some tape is going to keep him from popping out. Also, don't worry, because it is a sexy fight. So here are some quotes from this chapter.
This is when we all have to, like, sit up and pay attention.
Xaden steps forward, 6 foot everything, dressed in midnight flight leathers and a tight-fitted short-sleeve shirt that only seems to make the shimmering dark rebellion relics on his skin seem like an even bigger warning. I didn't transcribe that wrong. That is how that sentence sounds.
Okay, yeah.
Another quote, the corner of Xaden's mouth rises in a smirk and the gold flecks in his eyes seem to dance.
I love
whenever
love interests get pushed into the scene and they're like, let's talk about the gold flecks in their eyes.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, forever.
The
Let's talk
corner
about
of
that.
his mouth rises.
I know.
I'll say
smirking.
I just read a book that
you do it every time, every single time.
I know.
I'll just say it straight up. I do not notice the color of people's eyes, like, ever.
Oh.
Like,
I think
maybe
I
one person in 500 I might notice their eye color.
I think they would have to be startlingly blue, like to the point of almost clear to notice.
Quickly color my eyes.
Yours are blue. I know they are.
Ah, okay. Good job, Maura. Then I always tell people when I like their eyes, and then I feel really creepy because it seems like such an intimate, like, compliment.
It is, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then your hair is amazing too. Though.
Oh, thank you.
Let's just put that out there.
I have curly hair.
One more quote from that chapter when they're fighting. He seizes my wrist and pins it above my head. Heat rushes up my neck and flames lick my cheeks as he lowers his face so his lips are only inches away from mine.
As you would in a fight.
I would just feel so awkward watching this fight in person.
I mean,
oh my God, if I was just in the background, I would be like...
This is where people, I think, in the background are like, is this kind of like getting into soft porn territory?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's
they
where
just
I
turn
would...
their backs out of respect.
So after fight class, Dane finds her and tells her that he has found a way to get her back into the scribe quadrant. And she is big mad about it.
Again, everyone tells her, this place is not for you.
And she's almost like agreeing at the beginning, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
She's just like, I do not really belong here, Mom. Why am I going? And she's like, well, you have to because, of reasons. And she's like, I really don't think I belong. And now she's like, how dare you? How dare you
tell me to leave? You don't understand me at all. Right, so then the first years start training for the gauntlet, which is another feat of strength. In the process of training, a couple more assholes are identified. You have Jack, the classic, and then someone named Tynan and someone named Oren.
Completely ridiculous people we don't need to pay attention to.
Yeah. And then there's more banter with Xaden, like nothing of consequence, just sexy sniping.
Smirks and golden flecks.
Yeah.
Next chapter has more gauntlet in it.
Okay, I will say I remember distinctly reading chapter 10 and being like, okay, they're setting this up. They're setting up the gauntlet. This is going to be like a couple chapters talking about how she overcomes it. She like overcomes it immediately in this next chapter, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like, because she has the knives.
They talk about how she fails like 3 times and she's like, man, I have to figure it out. It's tomorrow. And then bam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Easy peasy.
Easy. So she's so wee and tiny and weighs barely anything. She can't pull herself up in the gauntlet, but she can use her knives as picks, I guess. Doesn't it seem like it would dull the knives?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so that's how she manages to do what she needs to do with the gauntlet, is she uses her knives to sort of pull her along.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how you pictured this, but do you know what the Tough Mudder is?
Not at all.
Okay, it's like, do you know, Maura?
No, keep going.
Okay, it's like, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. It's this, like, race that you do, and you, like, have to go over all these, like, wooden, rustic, manly obstacles. Like, you have to crawl through mud, like, army crawl. You have to, like, climb over logs and all this stuff. So when I picture the gauntlet, I picture like Tough Mudder meets Ninja Warrior.
That would be if Fourth Wing were a reality
Right?
show.
Yeah. I hope that's how they make it in the TV show.
Another wing leader accuses her of cheating, but Xaden allows it. The wing leader is Amber, and she's another mean girl because we know she used to date Dane.
As we find out eventually, all women who dated Dane except Violet are terrible, and we hate them.
Okay, so everybody who makes it through the gauntlet now gets to take part in presentation, where the surviving cadets are inspected by the dragons. Like, literally, the dragons, like, kind of line up, and the cadets all walk past them and, like, try not to look pathetic or something.
That felt really weird to me.
I know. I kind of love thinking about this, where they're just like, hey, look at me. Aren't I cool? Please pick me. And, like, this dragon who just was, like, staring at you, like, no.
I thought of it totally different. I thought of it as like when you make all the kids in the school like line up one by one, and they're just like sad and quiet, like walking to the library.
No, that's exactly how it was envisioned it. Yeah,
that's how I envisioned it. And then you have like these huge dragons in the background just watching them, and every kid's like, "Please don't look at me."
I know, no, that's exactly how I was thinking about it. But then also in the back of my mind, it was like, shouldn't they be like showing off how like strong they are? Like just like yes, like flexing. The dragon's like, no, absolutely not you.
No.
What we get out of this is more cadets squabbling and more cadets killed by dragons. Like, I guess some people look shifty or something, and the dragons, again, just incinerate
Maybe
them.
those are the ones who are, like, looking down and not wanting to, like, make eye contact with the dragons. Like,
but remember, you're not supposed to make eye contact with
right.
dragons.
Well, you know what? Never mind then.
Yeah, it's almost like it's arbitrary and a miserable process to be a part of this military. Then after presentation, we get threshing. And that is when cadets go out into the fields and they wait for a dragon to pick them. Violet heard the three psychopaths, Jack, Oren, and Tynan, talking about killing a little gold dragon that they saw a couple days before because, again, they think it's weak. I don't know why they think they know better than dragons, what's weak and what's not.
And
but
it's like said all
this
the
seems
time.
like a really bad idea.
It does, because, I mean, it's a dragon. You know?
They say the dragons are, like, know all. Like, we're just here at their whim, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to, like, sit here and say this is, like, a critique of the story or anything, because characters do stupid things in books, and I get it. That's great. But also, this is a whole society that, you know, thinks of dragons as this, like, big defeating force of ultimate armies and things like that. So why would you kill one?
I don't know. They just
because it was small.
Unless they have, like, some sort of, like, ritual where they're going to sacrifice it to some greater dragon god.
No, they don't have any religion.
Right, they have no religion.
They have like 2 gods that they mention.
Yes,
and
they have 2 gods, but then they're
talk
like,
about them again.
If you die, you're done. We never think or talk about you
No,
ever
we
again.
burn you.
Yeah.
And all your stuff.
So, I mean, there's nothing to do with this tiny little dragon, except, I guess, kill it, which is kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Violet doesn't want this little dragon to get killed, and she goes to try to shoo it off. But then when she's doing that, the guys show up, and she has to fight them off. So then we see that Xaden is, like, watching this go down. But he can't intervene because, again, arbitrary rules. Like, apparently you can just, like, snap people in half in class, but you can't intervene when somebody's about to kill a dragon.
Yeah, but he, like, tells her later that he wants to, like, so bad. He's like, I wanted to protect you. You're so weak. I wanted to feel like a man so bad and help you.
As she's fighting them off, a big black dragon comes down, intervenes, and kills Tynan, allows the other 2 to, like, run off. Mm-hmm. This dragon is named Tairn. And he decides to bond with Violet.
I mean, she's the special.
Good
capital
for her.
T,
Go Violet.
They go back to the flight field to where, like, everybody else is to show that they are bonded. Also important, and will continue throughout the rest of this book, is that Violet is absolute shit at riding a dragon. Like, she cannot stay on.
Yes, but that's, like, a thing for all of them. Like, you have to learn how to fly on this dragon because they are not going to give you any help. You have, like, a little pommel that they, I guess, strap onto the dragon.
They do.
Which
I thought
you just
ride
give
it
them a saddle.
There's something about a pommel. I remember that. And they're like, you have a pommel, that's it. Like,
I thought it was like a part of the dragon.
Maybe it was.
She was talking about how when they made her like that saddle, she was like, everyone's gonna know I'm weak.
Okay.
And, girl, we already know.
Yeah, that's obvious. Everyone already recognizes that. But also, it's like, I do have to, like, go back to that thing about, like, fly or die. And it's like, but the majority of people die by just falling off of their dragons or off of a parapet or off of the gauntlet. People just fall. That's how they die in this book. And it's like, doesn't it make sense that you would all have saddles?
No, they don't care.
No, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, you put all this effort into getting these people to this point. Like, I don't know. It's just it's such a bad design. Also important. Dragons communicate psychically. Once they have picked you as their person, you can constantly psychically communicate. I think they can also like remote view shit through your eyes.
Wait, they can?
I got that feeling with stuff that happened later.
I think
like they knew stuff that went down.
But I thought they could like sense your feelings or emotions.
They can definitely sense feelings, or if something happens to you.
There's something that happens later that we'll get into where Taryn is able to show everyone else what happened through Violet's eyes.
Oh. I thought it was special just to him. Because he's the biggest and the baddest dragon out there.
I thought they could all do it.
I don't know. Question for the audiobook. When they talk psychically, like, how do they communicate that? Because in the book, it's just italicized. Like, they don't even say, really, like, he thought this, she thought this. Yeah. Like, they allude to it, but it's not...
It's a female narrator.
Oh, okay.
Obviously. And they don't switch around at all. So she basically just puts on a gruffer voice for Taryn. She's basically just like, Silver One, be careful.
Yeah.
But do you know that that's, like, in her head? Or do you just assume?
It's really hard to kind of notice that at first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have to say. Because I think like she does like, wait, this is in my head. Like, what's happening here? But there are some moments of confusion where like, who's talking?
Yeah, because it's very...
Especially
the italics
when...
are really obvious.
Yeah, especially when it becomes Xaden and her talking in each other's heads.
Right.
Because then you're like, are you guys talking in real life? Or are you just giving each other weird stares and everybody is staring at you, being like, what are you having like an interior argument? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, Xaden does sound like a very disappointed dad most of the time. And Darna sounds like a really irritating tween. She's like, I would totally kill them for you. I will do that. And
I want to fight too.
Yeah.
But speaking of Andarna, as Taryn and Violet head back to the flight field, they start to be followed by the little gold dragon who says that they want to bond to Violet too. Her name is Andarna. And this was kind of the part in the book that Maura was telling me about that made me think, I guess I should just read it. Because she was telling me the general plot about how, people like get dragons and stuff. And I rolled my eyes and I said... Oh, what? Did she, like, get the best dragon? Like, the biggest, most badass best dragon? Yeah, because Maura had told me, do you want to know a secret? And I was like, oh, does she get the best dragon? And she paused and then said, do you want to know 2 secrets?
These are our conversations.
So not only does she get the biggest, most badass dragon, she gets... another dragon, and it's one of the rarest types of dragon.
She's the special squared.
Yes, the most special dragon.
No one has ever bonded 2 dragons at once before. The generals in the Navarian military are all fighting about it, but then Dragon Council of Dragons, also meets and says it's okay, so tough titties humans, because what this dragons say goes. We find out that Taryn, her dragon, and Sigale, Xaden's dragon, are mated. So now there's going to be this like weird mental link between all 4 of them.
Yeah, I said before, this is like a love quadruple.
Yeah.
Which is interesting when it's 2 dragons that are involved with 2 humans going on.
Well, I guess they just don't mention it, but like just question for the world, for the author, I guess. Are like other dragons also mated? Like you would assume, right?
I would assume.
So
that.
Does this happen to other people?
This is something I said too, is that I wish there was more in this book about other people's relationships with their own dragons.
Yeah.
Because
again,
I was
world building.
I was wondering if it's more like business with other dragons and riders, or if it's more personal, the way that Taryn is like her dad, basically.
Yeah. He is like her
Is
dad.
it very business-like between other people?
I think they kind of get into that with Taryn and his previous writer about how it's just like, well, this is a tragedy that this guy died, and it was really hard for me. And isn't it like with the bonding with Violet that he basically says, like, if you die, I die?
That's what I thought. That's why I like this next point that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I thought when the dragon rider dies, it like harms the dragon.
It does.
Okay,
it does, but it doesn't kill him. Whereas if a dragon dies, it kills the rider.
It does, yes.
Okay. So again, I have confusion on this next point. Then.
It's a whole big like mental link, and if the mental link gets severed in some way or fashion,
I also will
harm.
say she does a great job of avoiding saying anything about dragons by putting in world. We don't know anything about dragons because they're really secretive.
Yes, like the Dragon Council. Is just
you have
like,
a question?
You don't get to be involved.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you because it's a secret.
After all of this gets sorted out and like she survived. She has 2 dragons. Is great. Dane runs up and kisses her, and she feels nothing. I guess after that Fight Club fight with Xaden, where they're rolling around on the ground, all the attraction to Dane just went away.
I mean, why would you feel anything for Dane at this point? Because Xaden is like giving her all these smoldering looks.
He's got the flecks in his eyes. They don't say anything about
the
Dane's
golden flecks. Like, once
Yeah.
golden flecks come in to play, everything, all bets are off. Like, you all know what's happening here.
Yeah. Violet is now told that people will try to kill her for their chance to try to bond with Tairn.
Which is, again, like, if the rider dies, it hurts the dragon. So, like, why is this something that everyone is going to do?
Again, it seems like a dumb system. So Imogen, the person who earlier possibly broke Violet's arm, is now a friend and says she will train her. I guess that means Rhiannon was doing a shit job training Violet, because now she's got to go more hardcore. Violet visits the library.
Wasn't there a reason, or just...
She was like returning books. Apparently you got to return your own books in this military. She talks to an old friend. It's very unimportant. And this is where we learn about intrinsics, which are signets that people can develop of mind reading. But like I said, there's a huge cultural taboo. So she watches a kid develop his signet, kind of go crazy, and be killed instantly by one of the teachers. Apparently it's just considered too dangerous to have somebody who can read anyone's mind at any given point. That night, Violet's asleep in her room, and she is attacked by 6 people, including Amber, the woman who did not want her to pass the gauntlet, that thought she cheated, and Orin, who's one of the psychopaths that survived when they tried to kill Andarna. So again, this is why I think there's some kind of remote viewing thing going on, because Andarna is able to sense that Violet is in trouble and manages to briefly stop time to help, because apparently that's a power Andarna has. Xaden shows up. Probably because his dragon told him this was going on.
Yeah.
And uses his powers, which are shadows.
Yeah, he has, like,
he has the power of shadows.
He, like, manipulates shadows.
He uses his shadows to kill the remaining 5 people. Amber escaped.
Which also, they say your signet is supposed to, like, reflect what's in your heart. So, like, what does it say about him that his
he's a
signet
bad
is,
boy.
like...
He's such a bad boy.
Just so dark.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I believe it's Xaden at this point, or maybe the dragons, maybe all of them, because, again, you got this weird psychic link, tell her that Andarna is baby, and humans can pull too much power and just fuck up baby dragons. This is considered a big secret. This is why they generally won't let baby dragons pair themselves with humans, is because it can drain their power.
Yeah, they, like, keep them hidden.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Xaden now puts Amber on trial in apparently wing leader court.
I love that. I love
the higher ups are not at all concerned with this going on. They're just letting a bunch of 20-year-olds hold their own court.
Like, very absent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
like,
they're
the
not
general
really
people, like,
No.
the adults, if you will, like, they just seem they're not there.
Yeah. No, they get more involved in the sequel, in a weird way.
Okay.
Get into that later.
Dane, who again used to like apparently date or at least slept with Amber, doesn't believe Violet when she says this happened, and he tries to like reach forward to grab Violet to forcibly read her mind. She gets very upset by this. So then Tairn shares the memory of the attack psychically with everyone assembled. Again, I think all the dragons can do this. I think
I thought it was only
I think
a
Tairn's
Tairn
just like
thing.
more powerful than the other ones
Because he's so big.
Anyway, so, he shows them what happened, and they're like, oh, yeah, she did the thing. So Amber is executed.
I remember this whole scene happening, like, at the end of the book, so...
Yeah, I don't remember
I
this
read
happening
this.
at all.
I didn't reread it before this episode, if you can't tell.
No, I don't remember. I don't have any memory of this, mainly because I was listening to it on a plane, and this was, like, hour number 11 of that flight, and I was so out of it. I remember something vague happening around this. Like, something happened that means that Violet needs to be protected, and she needs to be watched
She
at all
always
times.
needs to be protected.
I know, because she's so wee and small.
Yeah.
We are introduced in here to the character of Liam, and unbeknownst to me, we were supposed to care about him based on what happens later in the book. But
I liked Liam.
Liam only became like a big deal when he was guarding Violet.
That's what I mean.
And she's just like, I love you now because you're my big you're my future boyfriend's best friend, kind of.
Yeah.
And everything is great, and I love you as a friend and
As a friend, as a friend.
and just like and we've grown together so much. And then tragically.
Liam is Xaden's foster brother, and Xaden is making him guard Violet and like follow her everywhere. Xaden also wards her door. So Liam, again, is also a rebellion kid. Mm-hmm. And the only other thing that happens in this chapter is that they start to notice inconsistencies in what they're told in battle brief. Like maybe they're not getting the full story, which why the fuck would they? They're first years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then we continue on and we learn more about how Violet is absolute shit at riding a dragon. We get a really long passage about Xaden being really, really hot. Here's part of it.
Perfect. Continue.
Every edge of Xaden's body is honed like a weapon, all sharp lines and barely leashed power. His rebellion relic twists around his upper body and stands out against the deep bronze of his skin, accentuating every punch he throws. And his stomach, I mean, how many muscles are there in the abdominals?
That's actually really concerning.
He's got an 8-pack cannon.
I know. When she says that, I just imagine, like, on a caterpillar, how there's all those little bumps.
Oh, no, you've ruined it for me forever.
His are so rigidly defined that I could probably count every single one if the rest of him wasn't so damn distracting.
So he's malnourished.
Yeah.
You could argue
he's
that.
He's dehydrated.
They don't need water at this school.
Oh, so then later that day, that night, Violet starts to get like real horny and doesn't know why. And she realizes it's because Taryn and Sigale are mating, which makes both Violet and Xaden horny.
God, I love this part. I really do.
Okay, so then they like start to hardcore make out, but then break apart and you're like, no, we mustn't.
Yeah, so Maura read this book before all of us, and I don't remember why this was brought up, but I think she was talking about how she was reading this book about dragons, and I was like, I don't know, dragons? And she was like, listen, these two people are connected to these dragons, the dragons start having sex, and it makes the two characters horny, and then they get in on. And I was like, all right, I'll read it. Literally, like, that's what convinced me.
That right there is the best review that you could possibly have for this book. Yeah. It was just like, this is what happens. So you're like, oh my God, I need this book in my life.
Okay, I will say, this is coming to me now. I remember, and maybe you don't, but so like the horny thing happens, like they feel the dragon's getting horny, so Violet gets horny. But then later in like the next chapter, she's like ravenously hungry, and it's because Taryn is super hungry.
Yes.
I'm like, why would you not put that first? Like
you would
lead
think that
into
this
it,
would be
you know,
leading in a little bit more. Like it would start originally immediately, right? Like you would immediately sense like something's going on, but no, they introduce with horniness, which is like, you know what? I respect.
Yeah, we're gonna start at the climax, no pun intended, and then we're gonna drop it off.
We needed a pretense for them to kiss.
Well, yeah. Hunger's not really that.
Then Dane and Violet argue some more. Same old. He's being overprotective because, like, girls' joints are always popping out. Of course he's worried. She poisons Jack with oranges. Apparently he's allergic to oranges. But he also used his power on her when they were fighting on the mat, which I can't remember. His power was, like, I don't know. It made her feel like her like, head was on fire.
Yeah, some emotional power.
Yeah, he, like, touched her and it made her hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So you know, fuck him. He's doing that.
Does it count as poisoning if you're just giving someone like anaphylactic shock?
I think if you do it knowingly, right? Like if they can prove that you knew someone was allergic to like peanuts and you hid it in their food.
Also, doesn't she find out that he's allergic to oranges by like overhearing his friends talk about it at like lunch?
Yeah, apparently he's just blabbing that he's allergic to stuff and being a massive dick at the same time, which seems like bad planning on his part.
Yes, you would think that other people would like try to poison him with oranges, like just slip a little orange juice in his like apple juice or something.
Yeah, he
didn't seem like he was nice to anyone.
No, he had no real friends. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, not saying you should kill people just because they're mean to you, but
why not?
I mean, in this book, that's a reason.
In this book, it's totally a reason.
I'm saying
fly or die, bitch. Like.
We also learned sometime around here, this is when they remember that there's like a book that's relevant.
Oh, yeah.
So there was this book her dad gave her called The Book of Fables, which has got like a bunch of mythology and little stories in it. And she can't find it in the archive, which is weird because the archive is supposed to have every single book that has ever existed, except for books that are forbidden. So is this book forbidden? Why? It's just children's stories.
Like the forbidden section in Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. Have that fight with her against Jack. and she wakes up in the infirmary. And then Xaden says that he's going to teach her how to fight himself because apparently Rhiannon and Imogen did a shit job.
It's just like terrible. These women don't know what
these
they're
women,
doing.
man, they can't
It's
fight.
like,
Patriarchy is
Xaden,
here.
the bad boy with the gold flex, is going to help you.
And my 8-pack.
And
and my 27-pack. They are both out flight training, and they run into high command, including her mom, who totally blanks her. After the higher-ups leave, Xaden comments that he's surprised by the rocky relationship she obviously has with her mom.
Like, she's mommy issues. It's fine.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you? I mean, she's the general of a massive army. It doesn't think like she has a whole lot of time to mom,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Also, doesn't he know that, like, she was supposed to be a scribe first and then her mom made her?
I feel like he knew way more about her going in
Yeah.
than she even begins to know.
Right.
Like, there's something going on with Xaden because on top of that, like, he's supposed to, like, hate her, right? And
Yeah.
And does he actually hate
No,
her?
he's just, like, kind of smarmy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like that's the point of this exchange, is so that he can see that Violet and her mom are not the same person at all, because, you know, he still hates her mom.
Right.
All right, so they have another test where they need to steal something. They're just supposed to, like, go around Basgiath War College and steal something that's hard to steal. So Violet decides to take her group to her mom's office, because remember, her mom is Big Lady General.
Yeah.
They steal several letters. Well, no, they see several letters that are relevant to the plot, just like laying out there on the desk. But what they steal is an up-to-date battle map. So they bring that back, and obviously they win the competition because they stole the biggest thing.
I love that she has an up-to-date battle map just
too.
sitting out there in her office. And
and apparently a bunch of first years can just break in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I loved this chapter. It just seemed like really fun. I know that seems lame to say.
No, I think like any type of chapter where you have to go heist things, everything like goes up a notch and you're like, this is fun. I like this.
As a reward for winning this thing, the squad gets to go to Montserrat.
The font.
For some reason, I keep thinking like this is in Europe. You know, it's just a fun little place where we go race cars.
I expected the map to be like England because that's how every map is, you know?
Yeah.
But no, it's a square-ish.
Violet is excited about this because this is where her sister Maura is stationed. Violet and Rhiannon also sneak out to visit Rhiannon's family because they live nearby. So while they're there, Xaden shows up because it turns out Taryn and Sigale can't be separated for long or else their brains are explode or something.
Love a forced proximity trope.
Don't we all?
I love it.
It's like right up there with shared bed.
Yeah.
So Violet discovers that her sister Maura saved their dad's book of fables, the book that she hasn't been able to find elsewhere. Dane and Xaden proceed to just bicker for a while, like really nothing is achieved, they just bicker. And then the outpost is attacked by, I believe, Griffin riders, and Xaden makes sure all of the cadets escape.
He's such
and
a
get
good
back
guy.
to
He
Basgiath.
is. Don't we love him?
Such a protective
Just,
guy.
oh my gosh.
So man.
So then Xaden has a saddle made for Violet because apparently this is like, you're not supposed to do it, but if you do it, that's also fine.
And she's a little like, how dare you do
She was mad about it. She was like,
really
people are
pissed.
gonna know.
And they're like, dude, just take this, take it as a
Yeah,
gift. It's a
God.
gift. I love you. I love you deep down. I just can't say it.
They play another game. It's like capture the egg, teams against each other. It's a very actiony sequence that goes on for a while. But then out of nowhere, Jack shows up with his dragon because he got a dragon during threshing. Jack shows up and just starts killing folk, like arbitrarily killing folk, and then he attacks Liam. Liam is falling off of this like tower rock thing, and Andarna slows time again so that Taryn can catch him. And then Violet, in this moment, finally manifests her signet power, which is lightning. She hits the rock that Jack is on, and he falls dead.
I just remember Taryn just like yelling at like the top of his like psychic lungs, like lightning bearer or whatever.
Yes, he did do that.
And
thing.
I was like, this is so dramatic right now. And meanwhile, like Violet's having this mental breakdown because she just murdered someone in cold blood.
Well, and I just remember this leading up to it. They were like talking for chapters about how she hadn't manifested her powers yet, and they were like, "If you don't release any powers right now, you're gonna blow up."
Yeah.
Is that what it sounded like?
Yeah,
like
basically.
you have a nuclear bomb in your chest and you're gonna die.
We established that Violet's signet power is lightning. She is in her room alone, angsting about this and the fact that she killed someone, and then Xaden shows up.
Oh god.
We finally get to the scene where they fuck. And It was way more graphic than I expected. We are on chapter 30, and everything
it took us
before
a long
this
time to get here.
Oh,
everything
man.
before this read like a YA novel,
Yes,
and then
it did.
suddenly it is like the most graphic
I know.
fucking going
And then
on.
all of a sudden it's just like, by the way, this has been an adult novel this whole time. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
It's like I had been listening for so long that I forgot sex existed, and then it suddenly just started happening in front of me.
Also, like, it's the most insane sex scene
I
ever.
love this sex scene because
Like,
it is so weird. And
it's so weird because all their furniture just crumbles every time they touch
they
it.
destroy everything.
The
in that
arm
room.
wire, the
It's like-
dresser, the
and
bed, right?
I don't even think they hit the bed. I think because it starts off with they're against a desk, right? And
Right,
she's like,
right.
"This is super uncomfortable, dude. Can we like go somewhere else?" And so
Yeah.
he's like, "Cool, let's do that." And then they go
Like
and they start having sex against an armoire or
Yeah,
whatever.
right, like-
and then they destroy that. And then they
Which, how, what, where, why? I just...
and then
Is he like picking her up and throwing her into stuff?
Yeah,
Like,
and then they're like up against like the curtains, which again are destroyed because the lightning
catch
bolt
on fire,
comes and they
right?
catch
Yeah.
on fire,
Oh my
and then they finish on the floor.
Yeah,
Like,
I think-
they fall
yeah,
on
I
the
think
floor.
you're right.
And I was
Apparently
like, this
this-
is amazing. Everything about this is just.
This is why I thought they had superpowers, because like, how hard are you thrusting into someone that you're breaking furniture?
That's a very valid question because like,
And then
is this fun for
her
everyone?
poor
Because
body, like, she's falling apart left and right, and we're like just murdering her with his
Yeah, apparently,
dick. Like,
apparently her bones pop out
another
of joint.
tagline: "We're murdering her with his dick."
Apparently her bones pop out of joint if you look at her sideways, but like
Yeah.
she can handle this no problem.
Yeah, she
no.
can handle that super well.
I just
And again, she's wee, and she's like 5'0" and he's like a 6'4"
he's
giant.
6
Yeah.
feet
And
tall.
he has like the 6-packs of a
8-pack.
caterpillar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, parts of it were like hot. I mean, fine, but the second they broke, I'm sorry, Tabitha. The second they broke, Tabitha just like looked at me like, really?
Yeah, it's just like, no. I really like the fight scene. The fight thing I thought was pretty hot
Oh,
with
yeah,
them.
with
And
the
he's just
fighting.
like, let's
Yeah.
pretend like we're, fighting or whatever, but really we're just doing the soft porn for our friends.
Yeah.
And then the kiss after that, because it's like the dragons are
Right,
horny.
right.
What can you do? We have to do this.
We have to.
That was great. I loved all that. But then it got into the sex, and I was like, okay, finally we're here with the sex. And it's
Yeah.
just like, we are not going to do this how you think we are. We're going
No.
to do it in all the ways
I
you
remember,
didn't
like,
think would happen.
For a teeny bit at the beginning, I was like, all right. And then the second they broke a piece of furniture, I was like, I'm out. I remember literally laughing out loud reading it.
Yeah, I think it was when the curtains burst into flame that
Oh
I
my-
was
yeah.
I was over here like, this is hilarious.
Also,
and,
the lightning just going and like hitting trees in the background, like off in the
and
distance.
also, I think when this was happening, I was in the back of a cab. I was listening to it in the back of a cab.
Yeah.
Going from the airport 2 hours north to like an outpost in the middle of nowhere. And I was just like, I am in the back of the car and listening to this, thinking to myself, what is going on right now?
Also, I mean, I guess I'm answering my question here. I know murder is like cool in this school. No rhyme intended. But people are listening to this happening. Like, are their rooms soundproof? And no one's like, hey, girl, you
everybody
good?
is fucking
Like,
each other.
well, yeah, that's true.
But
we don't-
yeah, that is told to us like multiple times, people in and out of people's rooms. You know what they really should talk about if they're going to have explicit sex in this book is what they use for contraception in this world.
They
Yes,
really don't talk
they
about
don't talk
that.
about
They
it
don't
at
talk
all.
about it at all.
We talk about how we can now use pens.
Yeah,
With
you
our
use
magic
pens, but you don't
powers.
use your small magic for contraception.
Yeah, exactly. I assume if you get pregnant, the dragons kill you right away.
It's like, you're no use to me anymore.
Yeah.
I think it'd be badass
so-
if we just had pregnant women riding on dragons.
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Pregnant women riding dragons
Just
and just
full 9 months
killing
left to
the
birth that
griffins
baby.
left and
Yeah.
right. I mean, like, look, I am like 2 weeks past my due date.
Yeah.
And we are out here warring.
That would definitely send you into labor.
Another thing that's kind of weird is I feel like in other romance books, when they finally have sex for the first time, that is the whole chapter. Like
Yeah.
from when they start to when they finish, and then the action, rest of the plot picks up at the next chapter. This one doesn't end with the sex. They have sex and then immediately picks up the next day with a Professor Carr, where she's training with her powers. I don't know. It just seemed like weird formatting to me. It should have been the next chapter.
Yeah, I think
a
you're
good
right.
point.
Like, it's better to split it up after the sex is over, and then we can talk about how crazy Professor Carr is with his, like, just do it harder and faster, which I
Yeah.
guess also was the sex. So maybe not.
Well,
It's on the same
the
theme.
big
Hard and fast.
Hard and fast.
the big takeaway from her training with her powers is that she cannot aim her lightning pretty much at all.
She can't do anything good.
We move on where there is a big party at the Basgiath War College to celebrate Reunification Day, which is apparently when we managed to bring the foreign countries to heel.
Yeah.
Violet's mom is there and the king is there, and they're put out because not many of the rebellion kids showed up to the party, which why the fuck would they?
I'm confused about that too, because it's just like, are you making everybody come? Is this mandatory? Or are you just like kind of hurt that these people didn't show up?
Yeah, like
these
if
20-year-old children.
You did kill their parents. So like they haven't rebelled against you at this point. Isn't that enough? Why do they have to come to the party? The king is kind of shitty about the whole thing and is kind of mean to Liam because he's there with her. So Violet apologizes to Liam, I guess, for like being subjugated by an empire.
Yeah, because again, anti-colonialist themes here. It's slowly coming to the fore, but it's there underneath all of the random curtain sex.
So after she leaves the party, Violet finds Xaden brooding on the parapet. And she just waltzes along at this time because she's gotten so much better.
They're like, this is totally cool, you guys. I can do this with like blindfolded. And he's out there, man, Violet.
Isn't he mad that like she goes out there?
I think he is.
Of course she is.
Yeah, because he gets really weirdly overprotective of her.
Yeah, it's okay when he does it. It's not okay when Dane does it.
Right.
She finds him brooding on the parapet because, you know, the military he belongs to kill his parents.
Oh, this is also where she finds out, isn't it, that like he's in control, not in control, but he's like responsible for all of these.
Oh yeah, there's like some weird
people.
Deal that was made.
Yeah, it was just like
she
he has all these
understands
marks on his back,
like
that her mom put there, and then it's like if any of these people, these little rebellion kids, step out of line, we're gonna.
We actually don't find out it was his mom until the second book.
That's true. Sorry,
Maura.
Oops. Spoiler. I'm sorry.
I'm still only on like page 20.
Well, really, this is kind of just. You should have been.
I know.
You should have.
No, I think I picked that up. It's fine. It's okay.
Okay, so she leads him away from the parapet back to his room where they start having sex again. She manages to just break a window this time with her lightning.
Yeah, sad.
As they fuck, there's a knock on the door saying they're under attack. Now, when Maura was reading my notes, I had originally written like after they fucked. And she was like, no, I think they're still doing it. So I had to look it up. I had to go to this chapter, look it up, and be like, oh, no, you're right. There's still penetration happening when there's a knock on the door.
The penetration is currently ongoing.
Yeah.
And he's like...
So sad.
He's being all weird about it. And then he's like, go away while he's still like...
Well, yeah, no one wants to go fight
a war. But then the person
is...
I think it's Garrick, who I never actually know as a character. He just like shows up when he has to like give news. There are so many characters
in this book. So many. It's hard to know who's who.
But yeah, he shows up, he tells them that they're under attack. So they have to like get out of each other.
They're both in each other.
The orifices.
Yeah.
So
penetrated.
It's actually just war games that they're doing right now. Xaden gives Violet his his flight jacket.
Oh my God.
And then, like, immediately, we are also introduced to the concept of the dragon baby Bjorn that Andarna's going to wear.
This was probably the best chapter.
So Terrence got people strapped to him, going both ways. Like, Violet strapped to his back, and then Andarna's strapped to his front.
Sure.
I have seen all the fan art of the baby Bjorn.
Is so bad.
Yeah,
this is where I finally lost it. I was like, I could do a lot of dumb shit in books, but like the fact that and I get why they explain it. Like, she's too small, she's baby, she can't fly. But holy guacamole, the fact that no one laughed at this in like the world that we're reading about is insane to me.
Yeah, someone probably should have said, can't we just put her somewhere else where she's safe and everybody is
they
happy?
have to like be
I know
together,
they have to
so
be
don't,
together.
Like, blow
it's
up or
ridiculous.
whatever.
It's just like I don't know. There had to be another way.
Did I ever tell you about the exact moment? Like, I understand like hitting the point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. Did I ever tell you about when I gave up 4 books into the Outlander series? No. I was halfway through whatever the one is where they're in North Carolina during the Revolutionary War. And so much weird shit had happened in those books for 4 books, and I was hanging with it.
Yeah.
And then she's like,
then finally
she's like out in the woods when there's a snowstorm, and he has to come get her. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a bear shows up, and Jamie, her husband, has to wrestle a bear in the snow. And I actually sat the book down, and I'm like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I've hit my point.
Yeah.
The bear wrestling.
And it wasn't even anything magic. It was bear wrestling.
Yeah, mine with that one was when she just saw the Loch Ness Monster. As I have told you.
That was only like halfway through the first book.
I know. I was just like, she's like, oh yeah, cool, the Loch Ness Monster exists.
See, that's what I mean. I managed to hang in through all that.
I know. And just like, really, you didn't even be like, oh my God, the Loch Ness Monster is real. This is a real thing that I'm looking at right now. And she's just like, And I'm like, no, this isn't the right reaction.
Someone told me how long those books are, and I said, I'm good.
No, they're super long.
Yeah.
We don't need any of that right now.
And
maybe later.
In the TV show, I don't think the main guy is like that good looking, so I like can't even get into it.
Oh my god.
I know, which is a hot take. I feel like
everyone.
I know. Everyone thinks he's so hot.
Like,
and
let's
I'm
talk more about how you don't like Jamie.
Yeah.
He seems like a nice guy, but he just doesn't do it for me.
Okay, so yeah, she got the jacket. They got the baby Bjorn. She's supposed to go with Dane, but stuff gets switched around, and she ends up going with Xaden to a place called Athbine.
Well, because she has to go, because they can't be apart.
Yeah,
I think that's why.
Yeah, that's the reason that's given.
Got it.
Of course, Dane is put out by this because that's his whole character.
Right.
Next chapter, they are flying to Athbine. I think that's how you say it. And they stop for a rest on the way there and to just smooch for a while. Just nothing but smooching. And then some Griffin riders show up. Oh, no. And then we have what I called the chapter of exposition, which is when they finally explain a bunch of stuff. It turns out that the rebel kids have been giving magically imbued weapons to Griffin riders because these magical weapons are the only thing that are used to kill Venin, which are evil magicians whose power comes from bleeding the land
of its magic.
Yeah, they put their hands on it and pull all the life force out of the earth.
Cool.
And those are the real enemy that we need to worry about. They're in the Book of Fables, which is how this book comes into this. People think this is like a myth that these people exist, and no, it turns out they're real.
They talked about this book like 2 times. Like at the beginning when she gets the book, and then in the library, and that's it. And then you're supposed to make these connections.
Because it's all about her all the time, Violet immediately feels betrayed by everyone that they didn't share this information with her. Which, they think she's the general's daughter. They think she's in cahoots with the general. Why would they trust her with this information?
Because she's friends with them.
Yeah, they're friends now.
The power
She's
of
been having
friendship.
sex with Xaden.
Yeah.
And really the power of sex solves everything.
So the Griffin Riders tell them that there are Venin headed to a town called Resin. They realize that this whole thing was a setup to kill them, probably by Colonel Atos, facilitated by Dane, because remember, Colonel Atos is his dad, facilitated by Dane reading Violet's mind.
Because apparently he'd been doing it all along.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this was
anytime
like
he reached out to touch her affectionately, he was reading her mind.
Yeah. I felt like out of all the reveals this chapter, that was the one that was like kind of done the best.
Yeah.
The Book of Fable things came out of left field for me.
It did, but Dane being a douche the entire time was just like, wow, like all this time you've been trying to like save Violet from her bad decisions to continue with
you
this
were
stupid
rude
college.
about it.
And you were rude about it, and you were overbearing and patriarchal, yes, but your heart was in the right place. But no, in fact it wasn't.
No.
That was a good heel turn.
Yeah. Fuck Dane.
Next is the big fight chapter that's like all action about this fight against the Venin.
I like picture everything that happens in the book in my head. I can't read without doing that. And trying to picture this was like capital big mess.
I'm not gonna lie.
It was a big mess. I could not follow much of it. But again, I was exhausted
There were like people
when I got to this
flying
point.
and like people on top of houses, or like that's how I remembered reading it.
Yeah.
Again, that was a long time
It's just
ago,
like people
so.
are like on top of these massive creatures, and they're flicking all over the place, and like they're falling, they're staying, they're dying. It's just so much action that it was just like, I am just gonna narrow it down into like this little like
maybe
background noise.
a part of it was supposed to be like, it was supposed to be a mess because they're not, they're still cadets, right? Most of them. But yeah, I was like, what is going on?
I'm really bad about these sort of scenes in general, though. Like whenever it gets like a big battle scene, I'm like, okay, cool. If this were like big screen on a television or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, let's do this. But like in book form, it's really hard for me to follow that sort of stuff.
See, I have to admit that these action scenes are the ones that work best for me. Like, they were the only parts I thought were written in a way that was kind of compelling. Like, I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. It was where more of the humans talking to each other wasn't done very well.
Yeah.
What we see in this part, this chapter during this big fight, is, the Dragon Riders have dragons, the Griffin Riders have griffins, and the Venin ride wyverns, which for our purposes here are monstrous constructs.
If you had
it seems like they make them.
We've been reading Gideon the Ninth a lot, so yeah, the constructs.
It's also a thing in D&D.
Yeah, there you go.
During this fight, Liam's dragon dies while he's helping Tairn.
Sad.
So because of how the bonding works, Liam then dies.
This was like
it's supposed to be very sad, I guess.
Well, I felt sad. You're emotionless, but
Yeah, I didn't really connect with Liam, so like
it's okay.
I was like, oh, poor Liam.
Yeah, I felt sad. He was a nice guy.
Yeah, he was. He was
sure.
a nice,
That's literally the only thing we know about him.
He's just a nice guy.
Yeah,
He was like
that's
Liam.
And he's blonde?
He is blonde.
Yeah, okay.
Very blonde, which you could probably tell then he was going to die. But like,
right, true.
Because all
you
blonde
can't
men
have the,
don't need to
Well, and
exist.
that's how you knew that she was never going to end up with Dane. His hair wasn't like basically black.
It needs to be black.
Yeah.
You has to be black to be a love interest.
Right, or like really
so
dark
brown
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
black when it's
basically
when
black.
it's wet. Yeah.
I picture him as like a sandy blonde, dirty blonde type character.
Sure.
It doesn't even matter how he's described in the book. That's how I picture him.
So we're basically picturing Liam Hemsworth.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
actually.
that's fine. Like a young Liam Hemsworth, I can see that. Yeah.
Quick, who are we casting Xaden? And
I can't.
Can we possibly cast Aiden? Is it like a thing that can happen?
no, I don't.
I feel bad for anyone who has to cast.
Oh yeah,
Well,
the
they
same
have
way
to,
I feel
yeah.
bad for the guy that plays Jamie in Outlander.
Yes.
well,
Okay, so as the fight is like taking a turn and it looks like our heroes won't win, Andarna comes out of hiding because they made her hide because she's too small for the fight.
she's baby.
She's baby. She stops time again so that Violet can blast the head venom, which kills the wyvern. It's like the whole thing. You destroy the venom and it destroys the wyvern too. And apparently Andarna is just out here, like they were told, oh, like don't use her powers, it'll like dry her up. And she's just out here like bang, 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 stopping time nonstop. So yeah, Violet kills the head venom, but she gets poisoned by it first. Next chapter, Violet is in and out of consciousness. That's literally the entire chapter. So now we're in the final chapter. Violet wakes up in this outpost area in the care of a healer. She is super mad at Xaden still for lying to her about, what the actual enemy was and working with the Griffin Riders. Again, I maintain she's the daughter of the head general. I would see why they would want to keep some stuff from her. She also has no control over her mental powers, and so she's just bombarding psychics with secrets. You got Dane
feeling
feeling her up constantly.
Yeah.
She's not even good at blocking out Tairn, right? She
has no control.
Yeah.
The crew, everybody else, is examining a locked iron box the venom were after. I don't even remember finding out in the second book what the point of
I don't even
that
remember
was.
the box being a thing
I
until
don't
you wrote
remember the
that.
box at all until you put this here.
When we do Iron Flame, I'm going to make whoever is reviewing that one figure that out.
Okay,
It's
Emma.
So far in 20 pages in, they have not mentioned it. So
But
hopefully page 50 they will.
Final paragraph of the book, we find out the healer that is healing her, it's her dead brother Brennan who welcomes her to the rebellion.
Yeah, that was the big reveal.
That
Oh my
again,
God.
I mean, I know, this is a personal preference. I don't like it when books just throw things out of nowhere. I like a little breadcrumb.
Yeah, they really didn't give any sign that her brother was going
Yeah,
to be
it just
alive.
was last paragraph. Boom.
Nor was
I mean,
it
I also hate,
threaded through. She's just
No.
it's.
she talked about her brother twice, thanks for the book, and then done.
And then it was if there had been some sort of I don't know, remember back when
Yeah.
Brennan did this thing?
Or I really miss Brennan.
Yeah.
Brennan and I had such a great relationship.
Right.
Almost every chapter in this book was prefaced by a little quote from his journal.
All right, fine.
But I didn't include any of that because it was mostly boring as hell.
Yeah.
And again, it didn't really point towards him being alive in the end. It was just further
or that it
evidence
would
he
be
was
something
probably
that
dead.
we're waiting for. I was just Brennan's dead. Moving on.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a book. I mean, again, if that was supposed to be our connection to him, it was just like a book of tips. I mean, he seemed like a little quippy in it a bit, but I wasn't oh, he cares for me.
Yeah.
It was just this is how you
yeah.
don't die.
Her relationship with Maura was way more substantial.
Yeah, I remember that.
Brennan
Well, she's also
did
alive,
not.
but
Yes, but she kind of gets into it with Maura. They have a relationship that you can see happening on page, and with Brennan, it's they don't even try to tell you anything from the past. It's just he died.
Yeah, and with her dad, I remember how she saved that book because they're supposed to burn everything when the person dies.
Yes,
and I don't remember them saying I, Violet, wanted to save this one thing from my brother because he was super special or anything.
Right,
or maybe it was because he died when he was out at war.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. There's no world building, exposition. There's none. Just facts only.
Are we going to talk about the weird wrap up chapter that Xaden does?
I didn't read it.
Oh, I didn't read it.
Didn't read the weird wrap up chapter.
it was at the end, and I was like, I had spent like 5 hours going back over and making notes of this book, and I was like, I am done.
My sister gave us the book so that Tabitha could go back through it, and she was like, this is a special edition with Xaden's chapters at the end, and we were like, oh, okay, cool. She also didn't give me the dust jackets because she didn't trust me with it.
And that's
She was right,
move.
but about doing that.
Okay, here's what he says about her in the bonus chapter. Number one, it's something to keep in mind before I start, is I completely forgot to mention in all of this that his nickname for her is Violence.
Oh my god, how have we not even
We've been not talking about violence.
I think
So here's what he says about her in that final chapter.
tell us.
My gaze roaming down Sorengale's body. There's absolutely nothing to dislike about what I see. Mm-hmm. In fact, if Amari herself ever designed a woman with my downfall in mind, well, fuck. Maybe that's exactly what violence is, my downfall. Soft skin, sharp mind, fierce temper, deadly with a dagger, brave to a fault, and utterly unruffled. Ugh.
I don't know. She seems pretty easily ruffled to me, but that's,
she gets mad like so easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's very ruffled.
But then, for lots of people, I don't think anger is like really an emotion they consider ruffling.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, fine.
Yeah,
To
let's
wrap
this up.
Yeah.
My thoughts on the book are, look, it's bad. It's not a good book. It's badly written. But it is very easy to read. Like, the action parts are okay. If you want to read the book to be able to talk about it with other people, that's the best reason to read the book. Mm-hmm. I can't believe this. I'm very upset about this, but I'm probably going to end up reading the entire series.
All of them
We're gonna
because
make
we
her.
have to.
Yeah, I've already read Iron Flame, and it came out less than a month ago, around a month ago.
Yes, yeah.
The library even knew that you wanted to read it because it gave you like an advanced copy, did it?
Yeah. I got in there quick.
Yeah, very first.
All right.
I can't even believe you got to read it before I did. I'm like, how is this happening right now?
All right, Maura, how did you feel about it?
Okay, so my basic feeling about Fourth Wing, and always has been since the beginning, is like Fourth Wing is like frosting in book form, and there's nothing substantial about it whatsoever, and it might make you feel kind of gross later, but you're really enjoying it in the moment. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is sugary and absolutely terrible for me, but I am going to eat all of it, and I am going to enjoy it. And I think that's how a lot of people view this book. It's like, yeah, it's not substantial. You're not going to learn anything, but like, it is 100% a ride. And it's like, why not? This was a fun 8 hours of my life.
Yeah, I used to describe like the books that I read as like candy books, so I love your description of them like as it being like sweet like frosting, but it's fun. Like, I tell everyone when I talk about it that it's like watching a TV show. Like, nothing boring happens because they can't risk losing your attention. Like, it has to be like action, important plot point, because if they like let you sit in the feelings or anything, you're gonna recognize.
You're right. Fourth Wing was 21 hours.
Oh,
sorry,
wow.
go on.
No, that's okay. 21. If they let you like sit in the feelings or like learn about the world too much, then you might get bored and look at your phone or watch a different TV show. So it's like watching a CW TV show. Like, it's not good.
Yeah,
but like, I love Vampire Diaries.
Of course you do.
That's true. I wouldn't probably enjoy Fourth Wing as performed by the CW.
Yeah, I do think that would
honestly,
be the
Amazon Prime
one.
needs to sell it to CW so they would do a great job.
You know what would be funny?
The effects would be awful, but
I was gonna say,
what
would be
such
funny
a good
is
job.
if the dragons were like only puppets, so you ever like only ever saw like their head and their wings.
Yeah, or they're just like off screen and you only see them like put on their goggles and then they like straddle a green like blob and that's kind of a dragon and then that's it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this translates to screen, because I mean,
hope they do it.
Every time, I mean, I've known people who are like, this never going to happen because it's going to be so expensive. But I really, really hope it happens just so I can come back here and talk about it with you two.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Every single episode.
I'm crossing my fingers for puppets.
Yeah.
All right.
Puppets would be funny.
So we're workshopping a closing bit. Let's see how this goes.
Okay.
I thought that maybe we could close the episodes by determining who from the book that we consider ourselves the most alike. Emma, do you have any thoughts of which character you are?
Well, I took a quiz. I took 3 quizzes, actually. I couldn't remember.
She has a full-time job, by the way.
I do. You do.
I couldn't remember who all was in the book because I had read it like way back when we first talked about it. So I had to take a quiz.
Oh, also,
and,
to be fair to you, there are trillions of people in this book.
and they barely get talked about. The only people I could remember was Dane, Rhiannon, Jack, Violet, and Xaden. And I knew I was going to pick Violet because that's just pick me energy. And I was like, I can't do that for the first episode. So I took a quiz and it came out that I'm Rhiannon. And I'm going to say I'm her because I come to things unprepared. She didn't have the right boots. I didn't reread the book. She's not that book smart. You know, she had to get like help in history. And I'm also not that book smart. It's okay. But I think I'm a good friend just like her.
She is. She's a really good friend.
Yeah, I feel like she's a good friend.
Maura,
So,
which character do you think you are?
Oh my God, me. I've put literally no thought into this.
You didn't take the quiz? I sent it to you.
I did take the quiz, but it said I was Violet. And I'm like, this isn't right. Like, I can't be Violet.
I don't know. You're like into writing.
Yeah, but is
Scribe
she
writing?
Is she a writer or is she more like just translating? It feels to me that she's just translating. She knows lots of languages.
I picture them as like historians who like write history.
I mean, I'm happy to be Violet, I suppose. That's fine. But like, I think deep down, though, I want to be Imogen because she's just like, take no shit. I'm done with this. And like over there rolling her eyes at all like the quiet conversations that are not happening out loud between Xaden and Violet and just being like, I can't deal with this anymore, you people. I'm done. Because I feel like I'm done in my life most of the time.
Yeah,
so
I feel like that fits you
Like
better.
I feel like Imogen like and I would be like, I don't know, off doing our own thing because it's like, I'm finished with the drama here, but at the same time, totally living for it.
Yeah, right. Tabitha.
So I have to admit, my first thought was that I was Dane, which I know he's not a popular character, but, you know, I'm kind of anxious, and I got to admit, I do want to make people's decisions for them, especially when you see them making bad decisions, and you just want to, like, wrestle control away. I totally get that. But then the more I thought about it, the more that I realized I am Dylan. Who is Dylan, do you ask? Dylan is the guy from the first chapter who falls off the parapet and dies. Like, number one, I have really bad vertigo.
Oh, yeah.
And number two, when faced with that task, thinking, what's my reward for this? I get to join the fucking army. I get blasted by a dragon. Fuck this place. And just take a step off.
You wouldn't be the scribe who writes the whole story?
I mean, maybe if I was lucky, but when I remembered Dylan, I was like, yeah.
No,
that's me.
Janice girl.
Janice,
Jacinia.
I think it's Jacinia. Yes,
you're right. Wow,
yes.
You pulled that out at the last second.
At the last minute.
Honestly, she plays a much bigger role in the second book. So when I was writing my summary, I was like, I'm not dealing with this right now.
Yeah, I think next book you'll be a Jacinia for sure. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So that is our Fourth Wing episode. Thank you for joining us. Please be gentle on us when it comes to editing because I've never done it before and I'm going to have a really rough time of it.
Yeah, and this is our very first podcast ever.
Yeah.
We are new to this. It's going to be a fun road to see where this goes. But I think, it's going to be a ride.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed it and we hope to see you in future episodes.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.